Hey, Amun Token holders, welcome back to the latest episode of What Happened in Crypto this week. What's been happening in the space? There's so many news stories all the time. Who has time to catch up for it all? That's why you come here, you tune into the show, you watch the video on YouTube, you listen to the podcast, and for about 20 minutes or so, you get to catch up with the most important stories curated by yourself. So as usual, for the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go check out CoinMarketCap, see how things are going this week. Today is May 20th. It is about 5 p.m. Taiwanese time, about 5 a.m. American time. So these are the stories that have been happening this week. Let's check them out. So on CoinMarketCap at the moment, the Bitcoin sitting at $30,186, up 3.99% in the last 24 hours. Ethereum, $2,026, up 4.48% in the last 24 hours. Tether, 0.9992. You don't usually mention this, but today we're going to be talking about Tether a bit. USDC still stable at $1. Binance Coin BNB at $307.94, up 3.53% in the last 24 hours. XRP at 0.42 cents, up 6.59% in the last 24 hours. BUSD stable at $1, Cardano at 53 cents, up 4.08% in the last 24 hours. Solana at $52.42, up 4.75% in the last 24 hours. Dogecoin at 8 cents, up 2.51% in the last 24 hours. Overall, the market's been very stable. It was going down, so today is Friday. It was going down a lot of Thursday. Towards when I went to bed about Friday morning, it started to pick up a bit again. And Bitcoin's been stable over 30K for most of today. There are options expiring, I believe, for Bitcoin, and so people are expecting a further downturn. But there are still loads of Bitcoin maxes saying, oh yeah, you should buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to go back up. This is why you tune into this kind of show, so you can hear both sides of the coin. You decide what you want to do with your money. This is what the market is at the moment, right? There's the news of the merge when it comes to Ethereum as well, that they deployed it on the 𝕉𝕬𝕐. I can never remember how you pronounce that mainnet. So the merge is coming. I guess the mainnet deployment is going to happen in June. So it's not for us, it's just for the other mainnet. So that is another big story. But let's get into today's story. So the very first story today is upstate New York becomes hotbed for cryptocurrency mining. It might not last. So this has been an ongoing story towards the end of 2021, moving into 2022. Where lots of people have been going up. They've like re-renovated old power plants in New York. We're going to use these power plants to mine cryptocurrency. And there's the byline environmentalists and some public officials contend the conversion of fossil fuel power plants to crypto mining will make it hard to reach zero emission goals. So most places around the world, in the States, in South Africa, in Taiwan, they have a set of zero emission goals because we have to move towards zero emissions, as the United Nations said so, to avoid climate change catastrophes. It says, behind chain link fencing topped by barbed wire, excavators are parked beside the shell of two green buildings that are under construction. 3 smokestacks towering overhead serve as a reminder for when the Greenridge power plant burned 740,000 tons of coal annually here in New York's Finger Lakes, delivering enough electricity for more than 200,000 homes. Today, the facility uses much of the power it generates now through natural gas to operate a cryptocurrency mining operation. Right? So let's remember, right, natural gas are much more environmentally friendly than compared to coal. So the plant plans to move its mining machines there. There are 17,000 miners installed at the plant in 16 different environments, including an old brick storehouse on the grounds. Workers have to regularly clean out the miners. Picture 3 silicon computer boards stacked together in a box with a small fan. All right, let's keep going. Now they might take action. Governor Kathy Hochul has deferred a decision on a renewed permit for the Greenridge plant, and the state legislature is mulling a ban on future fossil plants restarting or ramping up operations to run cryptocurrency miners. So here the key point is fossil plants. So maybe if they were using renewable energy like solar or wind, that they could be allowed to run, but I guess the fossil fuels, right? So fuels that are limited in quantity might not be able to be used to be mined when it comes to New York State. The measures are very narrow, specifically saying we cannot turn back on our fossil fuel-based power plants if we're going to reach our climate goals, said Assembly Member Ann Callis, a Democrat of Ithaca, who has championed the proposed moratorium. Not our power plants that use fossil fuels and not now. Our responsibility is to hit our climate goals. They are not goals, they are law. So it says New York State has been a popular goal, especially upstate. The majority of mining projects in the upstate New York, at least 11, are relying not on on-site gas turbines, but the electrical grid, with a relatively clean mix upstate. But this isn't stopping the industry. Even amid its recent struggles on Wall Street, one of the last coal plants to close in New York is being turned into a Bitcoin mining facility set to pull 110 megawatts, enough to power about 80,000 homes from the grid to power miners by the end of the year. A defunct coal burning plant in Niagara Falls was cleaned up, and fans and miners installed, with additional plans to expand put on hold by a local moratorium. Okay, so these are a lot of interesting stories when it comes to cryptocurrency mining. Lots of food for thought if you are a miner in the States, if you are a miner pretty much everywhere. The theme of today's What Happened in Crypto is going to be regulation. What do you do about it? How do you account for it? I think regulation is going to be something when it comes to mining, just because, right, people are worried about mining goals. People are worried about heat waves this year. I think this is something that climate scientists have predicted, that there are going to be more and more heat waves this year. And we have to do something about that, because heat waves are driving up the cost for energy everywhere. With the Russia-Ukraine war as well, you don't want to be spending too much on energy, because who has the money? That also talks about inflation, and we're going to talk about that just now. So as usual, all the stories for today will be down in the show notes. Today we're back to this format. I hope you like it. I enjoyed the new style newsroom format, but let's give this a go and see how it goes. Okay, let's move on to today's next story, which is, of course, about UST and Terra Luna. South Korea slams Do Kwon with $78 million fine for tax evasion. South Korea's National Tax Service has ordered Terraform Labs, its co-founder Do Kwon, and other executives to pay 100 billion won, $78 million fine for tax evasion penalties. So South Korea, right, very, also I guess a relatively accepted state when it comes to cryptocurrency. According to local reports, the tax agency first launched an investigation into Terraform Labs and its subsidiaries in June last year on suspicion of corporate and income tax evasion. The investigation found that two of the company's subsidiaries were registered abroad in the Virgin Islands and Singapore. However, while the entities had foreign registration, the place of actual management of the firms was in South Korea. In the country, corporate tax laws treat foreign registered companies as domestic entities. The management and operations of the firms are conducted in the country. So that's very interesting. So even if you are registered in a foreign country, if you're managing your company out of South Korea, you still need to pay income tax, which is good for the South Korea, but bad if you're a crypto country in South Korea. So there are more lawsuits against Do Kwon as well. In Singapore, I believe they filed some lawsuits saying that we are victims of Luna and the Do Kwon should pay us some money as well. So Terra Luna is under a lot of pressure. There are definitely a lot of things to fix. I don't know how they're going to fix it, how they're going to address a lot of these legal problems, especially with all the money that has gone because of the crash. So we'll just have to see. All right, let's move on to another story. This story is from the very famous Bitcoin magazine. Swiss luxury watchmaker Heur now accepts Bitcoin as payment online. So this probably follows on another story from Gucci last week or a few weeks ago, where they said they were accepting cryptocurrency online. This is probably going to be a long line in a series of luxury companies who say, yes, you can buy our stuff with cryptocurrency, just because there are quite a large number of people who have made it big in crypto. And not to mention, rich or wealthy individuals who are investing in crypto, who do have crypto assets, and they can use that to buy their luxury assets, right, instead of using cash. And that might offer them opportunities for obscuring the way they purchase things, in a sense. Not legal advice and not financial advice, but yeah, let's have a look at this. So it says, Heur, a luxury watchmaker from Switzerland, is now accepting Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as payment online. Heur partnered with BitPay to bring this new functionality to its e-commerce customer base. BitPay allows businesses to accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as payment without dealing with technical hurdles. Tag allows customers up to $10,000 per transaction with no minimum spending requirements to use Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So it's not just Bitcoin. I would imagine they could be using Ethereum or one of the other top 10 cryptocurrencies. And this just explains what's going on. We're excited to see global brands such as Heur investing in the crypto space and seeking the support of BitPay to adapt their digital platforms to the rapid transformation of e-commerce, says Stephen Pear, co-founder and CEO of BitPay. Yes. Like I said before at the beginning of this new segment, definitely one of the many companies that are going to be using payment platforms like BitPay to allow their customers to participate. I'm still waiting for companies like Amazon or Newegg or other places where I can buy my electronics so I can use my cryptocurrency. That would be wonderful. But until that point, it's still good news. It's still moving up towards the slope of where cryptocurrency companies, where crypto users can say, okay, at some point in the future, the stuff I'm investing in can be usable as a form of payment. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next story, which is G7 countries urge swift regulation of crypto assets draft, right? Germany, May 19th, the world's top financial leaders called on Thursday for the swift and comprehensive regulation of cryptocurrencies following the turmoil that has seen the demise of Terra stablecoin last week. So this is a draft communique showed on Thursday. In light of the recent turmoil, they were meeting in Königswinter near Bonn, Germany on Thursday, Friday. All right, and that is the article, right? Oh, very short. So cool. I like short articles. Who doesn't like short articles? So I can imagine, right? And we talked about this on last week's show as well, is that with the demise or the downfall of Luna and stablecoins and tons of people losing their money and posting about it on Reddit, on Twitter, on YouTube and other social media spaces, governments in the world are like, okay, it is our job to protect citizens, despite some people saying crypto should be unregulated, right? We know regulation is going to happen. We just have to accept it and move on and trust in the fact that regulation will allow more people to have confidence in the space and maybe start getting involved in cryptocurrency. The G7 countries, all the major first world countries in the world, I don't think any sort of regulation is going to happen anytime soon, especially regulation across the board where everyone's regulation is very uniform. And we can still expect different kinds of regulation in some of the G7 countries. I think we're still probably 3 years away, 4 years away from uniform regulation across the G7 countries, maybe even across the world. I think if like United Nations regulation, we're probably looking at 2030 at least. Okay, let's move on to another story. Our next story is about Tether, of course. Now, this has been the big story. People have been focusing on stablecoins since UST's demise. There's that stablecoin on Phantom that sort of died and is still depegged at the moment, I believe. DUST, something along that line. There is still Tether as well. Someone mentioned on Reddit that $1 billion of Tether was being taken out a week since UST depegged. So it says, Tether cut commercial paper reserves by 17% in quarter one, accountants say. The reduction has continued with a further 20% cut since April 1st, which will be reflected in the quarter two report of stablecoin. Now, Tether has come out right on social media and has said, yes, we are fully backed, don't worry, despite not allowing like independent verification of this. So it says the majority of this 20.1 billion, around 18 billion, is comprised of A1 and A2 paper, which qualify as investment grade according to the report. A list of rating agencies grading the commercial paper wasn't specified other than Standard & Poor's ratings or equivalent ratings by Moody's, Fitch, or other nationally recognized statistical rating organizations in the footnotes. The geographical location of the commercial paper issues were also not found in the report. The reduction in commercial paper has continued with a further 20% cut since April 1st, which will be reflected in the second quarter report. Okay. Tether also slightly reduced its cash deposits from 4.2 billion to 4.1 billion and increased its US Treasury bond holdings from 34.5 billion to 39.2 billion since its last report. The other investments category, which include digital tokens, has remained consistent, falling slightly from 5.02 billion to 4.96 billion. This area has been thought as the most troubling aspect of the attestation reports because of the uncertainty about what exactly these assets are, which Tether doesn't disclose. We know UST, for example, they had Bitcoin backing their stablecoin. And as Bitcoin's value fluctuates, this is going to affect the backing of the currency. Tether has 5 billion of other digital tokens. Who knows? It probably Ethereum, probably BNB. And as the value of those tokens are volatile, right, that's going to affect what is backing. So technically, Tether is not backed one-to-one anymore because of the volatility of these assets. All right, so this is interesting, right? Something to be aware of. Tether is still on shaky ground as far as consumer confidence goes. That being said, they are still like they haven't had any issues, right? No one's had problems with Tether. I believe a week ago did have a slight deviation from the 0.999 to $1. They're back to it, so I think that's relatively safe. Okay, all right, let's go on to the next story. So it says, Mashinsky says sharks of Wall Street circling around Celsius and other projects. Alex Mashinsky has stated firmly that it is opportunistic short sellers on Wall Street that is responsible for the negative price action in the markets. The CEO of crypto lending and staking platform Celsius, Alex Mashinsky, believes that the sharks of Wall Street can smell blood in the water and are causing instability at several crypto projects. Mashinsky attributes recent Celsius price falls and the brief Tether depegging and collapse of Luna, at least in part, to short sellers on Wall Street. Cell has fallen from its all-time high of $8.05 to 82 cents. Wow, I had not realized that, which is a 90% drop. In a Twitter Spaces event on Tuesday, some Celsius users claimed the platform liquidated their holdings as sell dropped. They said trading was illiquid as the price fell, worsening their losses, and that Celsius should have supported the currency. 𝕉𝕬𝕁 said sell had been affected by the wider crypto crash due to the collapse of Terra, and he believed someone was targeting the company. This is not a coincidence. This is somebody who decided, you know what, I'm going to take down all of Celsius, he said during the event. Cointelegraph contacted 𝕉𝕬𝕁 for further details. He explained that there was a deliberate push from Wall Street to profit from exacerbating crypto's problems. So this has been a narrative. This has been a narrative that we have seen since the downfall of UST and Luna, where people have been saying somebody borrowed 1,000 Bitcoin from Gemini, that people are attacking cryptocurrency. And don't get me wrong, I think there's a possibility that traditional financial institutions may be trying to harm the crypto market. A possibility. I can't discount anything. I'm not psychic or God. I don't have proof of anything like that. That being said, it would be very hard to prove, but I wouldn't put it past traditional financial institutions. I would say in the run-up in the last few years, I can see there's a lot of pressure from traditional FI or TradFi to say, okay, look at all these traditional people who have been investing in stocks, investing in bonds, right, who are now moving into crypto because traditional finance is not offering the returns that crypto is offering. So they could feel threatened by that. They could be say, okay, we need to do damage to Celsius, to Nexo, to other platforms like this, so that people will feel scared and then move their money back into traditional finance. I wouldn't put it past anybody. Definitely a good article to read if you have time. All right, another story. This is not really much of a story, but this is something from Twitter. This is an account, right, or a Twitter account. You can Google it. Trueflation. So they try to reflect the true inflation number. So I think the inflation number in the States was 8.3% in April.
This month, the U.S. Senate confirmed Jerome Powell as Federal Reserve Chair for a second term. It's a move that solidifies the central bank's top leadership as it battles some of the worst inflation in 40 years. It's a worry on the minds of everyone in the financial system, from everyday families feeling pressure at the grocery store or gas pump to fund managers and multinational corporations. And one of its largest contributors is the shipping business. The global supply chain mess related to COVID-19 lockdowns is far from over, and many companies are struggling with paying for sky-high shipping rates. Rates from Asia to the West Coast, which are home to America's busiest ports, are almost triple what they were last year and 10 times what they were in 2020. The going rate is about $16,000 per container. This has created a boom time for shipping companies, which raked in record profits last year. Maersk, one of the world's largest shippers, said its profits exploded to $18 billion in 2021, 6 times more than 2020. The Biden administration is now targeting these shipping giants, saying the lack of competition has allowed them to take advantage of soaring demand by jacking up prices and thereby contributing to inflation. But it's not just the shipping fees causing the pain. Port fees are also cutting deeply into company logistics, which are also passed on to the consumer. For example, Greg Hayes, the CEO of Branch, a New York-based office furniture company, told Forbes they've had to spend a few $1,000s a day on port fees and has paid about $500,000 in fees in the last several months. Hayes says he reluctantly raised prices by 20% to accommodate these changes. So how can companies find a way out? This is where bringing manufacturing back closer to consumers can help. And companies have been saying for some time now that diversifying from Chinese labor would be beneficial. But such a shift will take time. Ambrose Conroy, the founder of supply chain consulting firm Seraph, put it this way: "It was a labor arbitrage play to manufacture in China. To do that, logistics costs had to be low. Now, logistics costs are high and labor costs are high. The whole model has broken."
But as you can see by the dashboard here, there's actually 12%. Again, like math is not, in the sense of inflation, right? It depends how you calculate it. So this says 12%. We know inflation is impacting cryptocurrency. It's impacting the stock market as well. And you can see right here, right? The true inflation cost of transportation in the States up 21.6% year on year. YOY is year on year. Food is the next biggest one. Of course, we know that. Baby formula shortage in the States at the moment. Housing, of course, another big issue as well. Housing prices have gone up a ton in the States. They've gone up in Taiwan as well. Food, gone up slightly here in Taiwan. And let's have a look at this true inflation category importance. Current inflation 13.7%, year to date 10%. Cereals and bakery products, right? Breakfast, right? Bread, common products that people use in the morning. Meat, poultry, fish and eggs, dairy and regulated related products, fruit and vegetables. All of this stuff has gone up. Now, why inflation is a big factor as well is because when prices go up, right, people's discretionary spending means the money that people usually set aside for holidays or investments and stuff is going to shrink. So when people have less discretionary money, they're going to invest less, or they're going to pull out money from the existing investments to say, oh my God, I have less money to spend this month. I still have to pay for school fees. I have to pay for a vacation because my kids really need a vacation, or I need a vacation. Is the big thing that affects a lot of people in different ways and different psychologies. And again, inflation also impacts people across different cultures because of savings rates. People tend to save more in Asian cultures and tend to spend more in Western cultures. So this is just something sort of food for thought when you want to think about investing, what you are doing, what other people are doing, why the market is going down. Have a look at this dashboard. It is very interesting. It is updated on a very daily basis and a very cool project. Get into and understand what is happening economically speaking. And we have to end off with a very happy story, right? The last story for today, which is Pizza Day, right? Bitcoin Pizza Day. This story is from 12 hours ago. Pizza Day celebrating Bitcoin Pizza Day with 100 parties worldwide. 12 years to the day of the world's first Bitcoin pizza purchase, the celebrations still continue for what has become a slice of crypto culture, right? Who doesn't love pizza and who doesn't love hanging out with people? Pizza Day, the decentralized blockchain project, seeking to unite the global community of pizza fanatics with the technological potential of Web3, celebrating Sunday's Bitcoin Pizza Day in authentic style. On Sunday, the project will host commemorative events at 100 pizzerias in over 75 countries around the world, including United States, Argentina, etc. Alongside a non-fungible token drop and a charitable campaign, the events will attract a number of supporters, including 13-time world pizza champion Tony 𝕉𝕬𝕉, Seth Green, Steve Aoki, and the Dogecoin team, and comedians Cheech and Chong, among others. Bitcoin Pizza Day has become a permanent fixture and cultural highlight in the crypto calendar since 2017 bull market. Definitely check it out. Head over to Pizza DAO. Participate if you want to. If you can, right? Look at what's happening with COVID and other regulations. Lots of fun. The way the market is looking at the moment, there are still lots of interesting things happening in cryptocurrency. So this is it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's segment. As I mentioned before, next week we're going to be going back to interviews. So we'll be doing our last week in PECO next week. Then we'll be doing an interview on Thursday. And we have a good 6 to 7 interviews coming in next week, so we won't be doing a what happened in crypto segment. If you do want the segment, if you're enjoying it, please reach out to me on Twitter, twitter.com/AmunKrane, or come to Telegram or Discord. Please don't forget to check out Amun's website, amun.com, amun.com. I'd love to hear if you do really want this segment. I can maybe mix this up in between the other segments like PECO and DFI, but for the moment, for the next few weeks, we'll be going back to one constituent news segment, like talking about our index tokens, and one interview every week for at least the next 6 weeks. Okay, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the podcast and the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like, right? And hit that notification button. Subscribe on your podcast app, and we will talk to you guys later.